Good evening and welcome to Democratically Speaking, or as I'm going to aptly rename this show tonight, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, because we have 4 people who are going to be seeking political office here in the city of Brockton. But before we get to them, and before we sit down and we get a little up front and close and personal with each of the 4 candidates, what I want to do is I want to make a couple of public service announcements, all centering around fundraisers. A fundraiser for Dennis DeNapoli, who is one of our guests tonight, and he's running for councilor at Ward 5, and his fundraiser will be on Tuesday, June 29th, from 6 to 8 p.m. It'll be at the Grill Restaurant on 453 Center Street in Brockton. It's a cash bar, hors d'oeuvres, and it's $10 a person. Ann Beauregard, who is also will be running for school committee in Ward 5. Look to the end of June, beginning of July for a fundraiser for Ann. Lisa Grant-Coffin, who is also a candidate at large, candidate from Ward 5, you're going to have a tentative fundraiser set for a barbecue set for the East Side Improvement. And Bill, you're going to have a tentative fundraiser breakfast over at Saul's restaurant. Okay. Mayor John T. Eunice will hold a fundraiser on Wednesday, June 16th at the Fuller Museum of Art from 5 to 8 p.m. Donations of $100, $250, or $500 are requested. And for more information, call 508-588-1999. And mayoral candidate in Ward 1, City Councilor Martha A. Crowell will also hold a fundraiser on June 24th, 1999 from 6 to 9 at George's Cafe. Tickets are $20 per person, and for more information, contact the headquarters at 508-583-6885 or 583-1599. Well, joining me tonight are 4 candidates for public service, public office. And before I introduce them, I really wanted just to tell everybody out there in the studio audience that tonight's not a candidates forum, it's not a debate. What this strictly is it's strictly a show that we're going to get to know and visit with each of the candidates for a short period of time, and to give good Democrats a chance to hear from good Democrats, because it is my opinion that anybody who throws their hat into the ring politically is not only a good Democrat, especially if you're running for the Democratic Party, but a little nutty here and there. So. And this is also a chance to discuss why the 4 candidates are seeking elective office. And so without any further ado, I'm going to introduce the 4 candidates. Lisa Grant-Coffin, who is running for candidate for city councilor in Ward 5. Dennis DeNapoli, who is running for a candidate in Ward 5 city councilor. Ann Beauregard, who I think, Ann, I'm going to let you make history here. And Democratically Speaking is going to scoop it. Ann, go ahead.
Yes, I'm announcing my candidacy for the school committee for Ward 5, and I'm running on the Democratic ticket.
Terrific, thank you. And last but not least, the man that usually stands behind one of the cameras here on Democratically Speaking, Bill Black. And Bill?
Thank you, Richard. Declaring my candidacy for city councilor at large on the Democratic ticket.
That's terrific. Thank you. Well, welcome everybody, and I'm glad you've been able to take the time out of your busy schedule with all the fundraising and hopefully walking from door to door and meeting the candidates. Meeting the constituents. What I would really like to do tonight is not so much give each of you 5 minutes to discuss who you are and all of that. I'd like to really conduct this as a roundtable discussion and talk about who you are and throw some issues out on the table and just sort of get your feeling about it. Because at a later date, each and every one of you will come back and you'll have your own half hour with me, and you'll be able to really get into the crux of what your campaign is all about, and really seriously where the issues that you stand on, all of the issues that you stand on. Well, let's do a little bit of an upfront and personal here. Bill, why don't you give us a little bit of your background?
Well, my background is lived in Brockton for 34 years. Presently at Division Street, which is Ward 7, for 20 odd years now there. Crime Watch block leader, been involved with the original DARE program, been involved in probably a myriad of things that happen in Brockton. I showed you my resume a little earlier that I don't think you can say that there's anything on there that's a fib or a tale. When you call me to ask me to do something, you know I'm going to be there to do it, because you know I can count on you. Lisa, anybody here that has contacted me, I've been there to do what has to be done, and I feel that we're going into the 21st century, and we've got to get rid of the 1960s thinking.
Dennis,
Well, I've been in the ward for 32 years, been involved.
you don't look that old.
No, recently retired, believe it or not. I love
outta
it.
here.
Oh,
Really?
yes.
Seriously?
Just retired, and I'm happy about it.
Yeah, so you have a lot of time on your hands, huh?
I have a lot-
That explains this whole madness, huh?
Availability
Yeah.
is the key. You know, there's a couple of key issues of public safety and education. But, you know, being involved in the ward for 32 years, I know some of the issues.
Sure.
Between parent advisory councils, Little League, and Brockton Youth Soccer, and I'm a volunteer at Andrea Bates. Can I give it a plug? What's good about Brockton?
What's good about Brockton are you guys.
That's
what's
right.
good about Brockton.
It's about the city of Brockton. There's a lot of good history here. It's a great city, and I'm proud to be in Brockton. And that's why I want to get into this race, and I hope people look at my credentials and make the decision, and I'll be out knocking on the doors and meeting the people.
Lisa?
Well,
We all know you. You've worn many hats in this city as well. It's not just. Go ahead. Why don't you give us a little bit of a background on Lisa
Okay.
Grant-Coffin?
Well, let's see. I've been very active in volunteering for a number of things in Brockton, and my favorite programs have been the Red, White, and Black Ball. More recently, Rocky Marciano Month, and I have to say that this gentleman over here, I called him on a Saturday, and he was there to help us build out a gallery for the kids. Thank you very much, Bill. Look him on camera here. He did a great job, but I volunteer for a lot of different things. I'm also very active in Ward 5. I have a child who attends a Pliff school. I'm involved with the PAC. I'm involved with Cub Scouts and Little League, and there's a lot of family issues that I care about that I'd like to bring forth. I don't think we have a lot of young families represented in terms of politically in Brockton, and I would like to bring some of those family-oriented issues to the table. But let's see. Well, that's really it. I love you know, I've always had an interest in public service. This is an open seat, and so I thought I would take the opportunity. I started walking about 3 weeks ago.
Good.
And I omitted this week. It was way too hot. I went out and tried to plant a rose bush this week, but I couldn't do that either. So I'm a marketing consultant, so I have a good deal of time to be accountable. I'd like to.
You're not retired, like.
No, I'm not retired.
like
No, I'm
one
not
of us we
retired.
know here sitting
No,
here.
I'm not retired. But you know, I do agree with. I agree with him, and accountability is vital. And I would say that I would also consider that a major point. I'm there all the time. So.
Ann?
Well, I'm active in the community myself. My background is I have an undergrad in finance, and I've been in the finance and accounting world for over 15 years. I also have a background in healthcare, and I believe I want to bring those issues particularly to the table. Everyone is talking about new schools and their growth, and you need to understand the financial backing that's going to come with and the cost with these schools. Am I opposed to them? No, but you need to understand the whole aspect of what's taking place. I'm very committed to the community, and I guess that would be my slogan. I'm involved with a lot of things right now. Summer Sunday in the Park, Summer Solstice. I've worked with Bill Black and Lisa Grant on several different programs in the past. I'm involved with the Library Foundation, and I also am a volunteer in the school system. I believe that's what's helping me get inside the schools. I'm in the libraries right now. I've gone from East Junior High to North, and I completed my projects there, so now they've sent me over to West. I'm learning about the teachers, the schools, the students, and seeing what happens day to day, and let me tell you, it's a lot. I'm also temporarily on a project with the Michelle Logan Family Center, so I'm seeing 900 kids go to the Raymond School every day. And I tell you, right now, we have a very impressive group of people in the school system in the city of Brockton.
Good. And you Summer Sunday in the Park was.
All right, since you want to mention that, I am
Yeah,
the
well,
chair of
just-
Summer
yeah, go
Sunday in
ahead.
the Park.
Yeah.
It's very exciting this year because it's also grown by a couple of hours and by many, many people. We have, it's safe to say right now, probably 25 to 30 people on the committee alone.
That's terrific.
And it's phenomenal. The ages, the cultural backgrounds, the interests, from Eve Harris, who's the president of the Artist Circle, to a young man that's starting a career in, it's funny, in the recording business. There's a lot of people locally here that are recording music.
We've all had some sort of involvement with that. I mean, the black, white, and red ball, talk about the belle of the ball, or, it is absolutely fabulous. I've been to both. They're absolutely terrific. You do a lovely job.
Thank you. I have a lot of help.
Yeah.
And I have to say, Ann was there for that as well.
Yeah,
Ann and Bill both.
Yeah.
So,
A lot of fun.
All right, look at Hung. Let's talk a little bit about why you decided you wanted to run here. I know you talked about the issues, but it goes beyond just doing that. You're going to throw your hat into this ring, and you're going to go meeting people and knocking door to door and sitting down and arguing with people and having people talk about your records and all of this other stuff. Why in God's name would you want to do that? Dennis, let's start with you. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to disrupt your retirement? God, if I could retire, I'm gone the Cape.
What am I supposed to do all day? I'll be able to answer the phone.
Well, counselor's job is at night, isn't it? Isn't it 3 days a week or something? No, I'm kidding.
No, it's a part-time position,
Yeah.
but it's a full-time position.
Sure.
It's availability. If people want to call, pick up the phone. I'll call.
What made you guys decide? You don't just wake up one morning and say, I'm going to do this, do you?
Oh no, it's my thoughts of this is my 5th race.
Yeah.
4 for Ward 7, and I think we got good politics in Ward 7 now, so I look and say I still think I can serve the city of Brockton at large.
I've been active in many, many campaigns, from councilors to school committee people to the President of the United States. I've always been John F. Kennedy inspired me, and Martin Luther King. It's just great to be out there and meet. I love to meet people. I used to work at a radio station, and I used to work behind a glass, and people used to play records, and people used to bang on the window doing funny faces. And if you can do that, you can put up with anything. It's just,
Well, I watched the city council meeting last night, and they were banging on the glass.
They got to get the budget done. Thanks to our Governor Salucci for making all these cutbacks, we going to have to cut.
He's another piece.
The budget's going to be cut.
Lisa, what prompted you?
I think that that a city councilor has a good opportunity to affect change in a positive way for people.
Mm-hmm.
I've been sort of in the trenches, as it were, on a volunteer level, with a variety of programs across the city. And although many good things have been happening in terms of the city council, in terms of the mayor's races, in terms of revitalization for the city, I still think there are representative gaps, particularly with young families. But I think that watching the process, city councilors really have the best opportunity to affect change in a positive manner for their wards. And that's really where my commitment is. I want to get some things done for 5 and get some things done for the young children in the city. I'd like to see the Parks and Recreation Department get fully funded. It's wonderful to see the volunteerism that takes 3 years and an enormous amount of blood, sweat, and dedication on behalf of parents to have 1 million barbecues to fix the park or to mow the lawn for Little League games. But I still think I think that the city ought to do more for the families.
Yeah.
Okay, myself, one, I want to be the voice for a lot of individuals. English is not my first language, and it's quite obvious that the city of Brockton is surrounded by people that speak another language besides English. And it's not a matter of the language itself as much as it is the perception that people have of someone that speaks another language. And that I definitely want to work with people and represent them. And I believe now is the time where we're going to get a lot of people speaking out, and already we've seen that happen. We have Rick Marrero running for councilor at large, and very excited about that. People need representation. It's not as if the people currently in office do not represent them. They just simply sometimes don't understand what they're going through. I mean, I went, I was teasing them earlier. They were making fun that this was Romper Room. I had to learn how to speak English on Romper Room. I couldn't go to my parents to learn how to speak English. My father was away on business trips. English was not his first language. He did graduate from high school in the United States. My mother came here right after she was married. She was no help at all. She couldn't translate for me. And to make things that matters worse, and this is a very common thing, is immigrants have a tendency to stay together, and that's exactly it. My parents stuck around with French Canadians, so they weren't speaking English to anyone unless they had to go to the grocery store or something basic. So when it came to having your homework assignments, help on your homework assignments, understanding what it is that you're responsible for in school, it was a little bit frightening. I mean, the first day on the bus, I didn't have anybody there to explain to me what exactly that entailed. So.
You mentioned something that, and I want everybody to chime in this. You mentioned something that the representation isn't that bad. Well, how are you going to change that? Why, if it's not so bad, what do you disagree with them on? What do you see as the burning issues here in the city? If our representation isn't that bad, everybody can chime in.
All right. Well,
on
I'm going to speak on this right now. I didn't say it was bad. I believe that changes need to be made, and things are forgotten. Having been on the Lewison House fundraiser and spending some time at the Lewison House, I was very concerned about those kids there. Now, what do? They're in a homeless situation. Where do they go? Yes, I'm running in Ward 5 because that's where I live. But I'm there to address the issues of anyone that's concerned about the schools. And that's why I'm very excited that I am, volunteering in the school system and connecting up with a lot of people. But those kids concern me because we want to stop what's happening to them. We have to help them at all angles. How can they possibly learn if they don't know where they live?
Other issues, come on, just chime in.
I personally think that, the abhorrent raises that they've had in the recent past is one reason why I want to be a counselor at large.
The raises, you don't like that?
I mean,
I think it's a
let's
priority
face it.
issue. I think that when you have a crumbling infrastructure, you don't give out $30,000 raises.
Yeah.
I look at it and I say point blank that, these people took these jobs with a job description and a price range of that job. And to get a pay raise like they got so soon after they got the position, definitely wrong.
I don't think there's anything wrong with cost of living increases that are part and parcel of some of the union contracts and some of the agreements that city employees work under now. But I do have a hard time with a $30,000 lump in raise in a time where we still have so much work to do. We still aren't funding our parks and recreation. Our streets are a mess. There are a number of initiatives that need to be funded in the city, really before we start. I mean, I don't know. In the business world, this doesn't happen. So the question being is why?
Unless you're a CEO,
well,
and then it's 30 million.
That's positive. But for the majority of the citizens of the city, okay, like for instance, my own tax bill went up $400 this year. Now I understand that my property value increased as well, and I also understand that they cut the tax rate so that it would have been worse. Okay. But that represents a lot of money to me. $400 represents a lot of money to me. Okay? Now, I don't have a problem paying that if I was seeing services. But where I am at this particular point, if my house caught on fire, yes, I know we have a great fire department. They're one of the busiest fire departments in the country.
My nephew's a firefighter.
Okay, there you are then. So I was nice, okay?
Absolutely.
No, firefighters,
Yeah.
we can be proud of our firefighters.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think public safety is a big issue. I think the police are doing a good job. I think, with the crime rates going down and this and that, we still have isolated instances.
Sure.
We have had strings of robberies in 5 that recently even, but they're being addressed. Crime watch groups are meeting, the police are coming and addressing them, we're getting increased patrols and that sort of thing. But in terms of regular, everyday, affect your family on a daily basis, city services, they're still seriously lacking.
Okay. Dennis?
Public safety, that was an issue brought out on the radio today. A caller called up, and there's 17 police officers that were put on a grant 5 years ago. Well, the money is running out the end of this year. And this gentleman calls up and says, well, lay them all off. Lay them all off. Do you know what we went through in 1991, 1992? We had 4 police officers on duty, each sector of the city, and they closed the firehouses. That will not happen if I'm elected. I mean, the police officers have to be paid. We knew when we received that grant money that we have to continue paying their salaries. The police department is still down men. They just put on five more ladies. We have 5 women police officers going on very shortly. And they just put on some new firefighters and got some new apparatus. And like Lisa said, it's a very busy fire department. If I call them, they're there. If I call the police, they're there. Public safety is a very, very important issue.
I think the city, it's very small planning department to begin with.
Yes.
And I'm really surprised that we don't have an east-west corridor yet. Here it is, the year 2000, and they could have taken that courthouse and moved it a half a block over, a half a block back. What they've done is they're going to use the property at the Salisbury, at Belmont and Warren for a new Arnone school. They could have put a east-west corridor in that spot from Crescent Street over to Belmont Street and moved everything a little bit further over. I mean, this has been something that's been talked about for probably the last 8-10 years. The water situation.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to add to what he was speaking about the planning department. Worcester, for instance, have 18 planners in their department, professional, architects, city planners, certified city planners.
Yeah.
We don't have that kind of support in the city of
Aren't we
Brockton.
the 5th largest
You
economy
can't
in
compare Worcester with
Massachusetts?
Brockton.
But I mean, we don't have any planning department.
Yeah.
They've been working on a master plan for 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's still not done yet, and that's because it's a volunteer group of people.
Yeah.
We have a very large city, like you just said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think we're the 5th largest economy.
Right.
aren't we?
And
5th
we
largest
have-
municipality?
Yeah.
And we have
I
virtually,
believe.
and we
Yeah.
have virtually no planning in place right now. And spot zoning and zoning variances all the time happen in Brockton. You see, strip malls going up and this and that. Land usage is a big issue right now. I know it's a big issue in 5 at the moment because there is some open property there that the residents are very upset about hearing that it's going to be developed. Now, I've met with several of the residents on Quincy Street, and they do not want that property developed because there's already too much traffic on the street. This is a 5 issue. This is a local issue, but it's indicative of a planning problem on the whole. We are not funding our planning department, and we should be.
Let's switch gears here for a minute, okay? November 3rd, that's the Tuesday, that's the election, right? Isn't it the 3rd? Okay, it's November 4th. You've all been elected, okay?
Well, that's impossible.
No. or yeah, all right. Well, say out of say you decide that you run at large and both of you get elected, okay? And you're all city councils and you're on the school committee. We have schools that need to be refurbished. We have schools need to be looked at in order to build new schools. Now, as city councilors, you're not just responsible for the day-to-day operation of the city council. You also have to work with the school department. Now, how does the school department and the city council work together to make that kind of thing
to point
happen?
out, we're talking about everything that we want for the city. But the thing we need the most is industry and income to come into the city. And it can't keep on coming from its people. I mean, I have spoken in the past to many people who are very active in the city, Mark Lindy and Ron Bethany, for example, saying that we need to develop tourism in this city. Now, granted, we're not going to be Boston, we're not going to be Cape Cod, but we need to bring the money from somewhere else to foot the bill.
The idea being is I think that the people are depending on the senior citizens can't afford to stay here in Brockton if their taxes are going to go up. Sure, it's great if they can sell their house for the price that it's assessed for, but if they can't and they can't afford their taxes, they're out. There's more people not paying taxes. That's more on you and I until we get some business in here. We're starting to become business friendly, just starting. We've been, since 1960, we've been saying no to everybody. That's the wrong attitude to have. We could have had a Walmart, we could have had a Costco, we could have had a BJ's. Guess what? We're going to have a Walmart, I believe, up on Oak Street. We've also got them on our borders.
Dennis is shaking his head. No.
Walmart is not coming to Brockton, folks.
We're not sure about
We're
that.
not having a strip mall on Quincy Street either.
Nope. Well, I know you're against it as much as I am.
The owner of the property up in Quincy Street was approached by a group to look at the land, and it sort of got blown out of proportion. It's not even in front of the planning board. It's not even on the tables.
Market Basket submitted a bid for the property.
It's not an issue, Lisa. It really isn't. Not right now.
Well, anyway, let's get on to this. Let's get back to the education thing. How much should the city council be involved in working with this?
100%.
With the school?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Always.
It's
It's a joint effort.
Education
future.
is very important. Education is the future. Your kids are our future.
If the kids aren't educated properly and the city isn't investing in them, then we're not going to have a future because we can't have them working. We can't have them being, leading the community.
What
think
is go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think it's the role of a city councilor to advocate on behalf of the students in his or her district. Like, for instance, I've spoken with the current school committee person and spoke with him, and I'm going to speak with Ann as well about these issues. Something I feel very strongly about is, we have a lot of old buildings in the city. We're not getting fully reimbursed for fixing those as we do the ed reform money for new schools. Okay, so like if there's a roof that's leaking and it needs to come before the city council for an appropriation, and it's determined that we can afford such an appropriation, it really is up to the councilor to line up the votes to get that, to make that happen. Now, a lot of times, unfortunately, that doesn't happen, and that's really too bad. I think that it should, but that's one thing that I will definitely be involved with, having a child in the system.
You know, we get reimbursed. Is it 90% reimbursement?
90%. On new schools
On new
only,
schools
not
only.
for
Let
renovation
me
of
ask
old
you a question.
buildings.
Where does the other money come from?
Us,
Us.
taxpayers.
So
Some
that's
of-
why
some of
business
it-
Out of your
has to
budget.
come into the city. Business
Some
has
of
to
it
come
can
into
come
the city.
through particular grants that are earmarked
In the wind,
specifically
I've
for it.
heard.
Now, let me ask you a question. Us. What do you mean us?
Taxpayers.
I've heard in the
Taxpayers.
wind that there's going to be an
Where else?
override.
Where else? Where else does it come from?
I see what you're saying.
Do we have to borrow the money? Do we have?
Oh,
to
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
we
yeah.
should
You have to
be
borrow money.
bonds
You have to
and
put a
bond up.
definitely.
How do you guys feel about? We have 3 minutes left here. How do you guys feel about that?
Raise what? Override?
Borrowing the money and maybe a Prop 2.5 override.
If we have the money,
Absolutely no.
No.
if
No override.
No overrides.
The
Brockton can't afford it.
override will never happen in the city. They tried once before on the police issues, and it would.
That was back like-
if the
They
schools-
did it
1990
actually in
or something,
1991
It
or
was, yeah,
92.
it was defeated.
I
It-
might not make friends at the table here. I was opposed to Proposition 2.5 and I marched opposed to it back in, 80 when they started the whole thing with it. I believe it was the worst thing that could have happened to Massachusetts. The solution to getting rid of taxes at certain levels is to address the disparity in taxes. When corporations are getting $20 million tax cuts and making several $billion a year in this Commonwealth, we need to reevaluate the situation. It's not a citywide situation, it's a statewide situation.
It is.
No one gained from Proposition 2.5, a select few individuals, because your taxes, you just told me, still going up. I'm an
yeah, but-
apartment renter myself.
Yeah, but Prop 2.5 is not a 2.5. Prop 2.5 is not that your tax is going to be increased by 2.5%.
No.
It's the entire pool of
That's
money.
correct.
Exactly.
that-
That's correct.
People need to
correct.
understand
Understand
this.
that, and
But
it's-
you know
it's-
something? We're actually coming toward the end of time, and I knew this was going to happen. Bill, you've got 15 seconds. 15 seconds. 15 seconds. 15 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to let the public know that I have been available for the past 10 years to serve the city of Brockton in any way, shape, or form, whether it be through Summer Sunday in the Park, Summer Solstice, and I intend to carry that forward as a councilor.
I want to thank you for having me, and I'll be available. I'm retired. And, call me.
Okay.
588-8934. I will answer your phone call.
Okay, Lisa?
Oh, well, I'd like to also thank you for having me. I look forward to meeting people in Ward 5 and throughout the city. As the election season goes forward, I'll be walking and knocking and listening to your concerns.
Terrific. Ann?
Thank you for having me on the show, and I look forward to be committed to the community.
Okay, well, thank you guys very much. I really appreciate it. You're all back again. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
We can keep talking as we go.
Yeah,
okay?
all right.
Well, anyway, as far as this Proposition 2.5 is concerned, yes, I did march. You have to understand, the more people laid off, the more, thank you, the more people